bonk. We're here. Hello. Good evening, everyone. That's quite exuberant for me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys in the Baltic Star. It is a Saturday night, which is kind of just all levels of wrong in the world of Traveller, but that's what we've gone for. And it is season 2, episode 7. We're rattling through this season, I tell you. But there's been adventure, there's been shooting, there's been singing, there's been nuns, there's been dirt, there's been hiding under tarpaulins, there's been anything you could have wanted right here in this place. And that is why, no doubt, some of you have come back on multiple occasions. And if it is your first time here, you're very welcome. We love our regulars and we love our newbies and we love our every now and againers with equal love. Thank you all so much. Legitimine. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I saw that you followed us just for the stream. Thank you. You are very welcome. You are very welcome, and thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, I'm sorry. We can't change who we are, but hopefully we like to think we're welcoming and we're warm, and that our chat is welcoming and warm at the very least. So I hope you enjoy that, if nothing else. We love our chatters, so please feel free to join in the chat and joke and laugh and mess around. We break the fourth wall a bit, so feel free for that. And generally, it's mostly you and not I. If one of us isn't taking the front on role playing, we'll be chatting a bit maybe. If someone asks a question, Ben does a bit, but for some reason, Ben's busier than us on these nights. I don't know why. Funny that.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. If you just want to lurk, then we love the lurkers. You know, whatever you feel comfortable with. Thank you for giving us 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Life is busy, time is short, and there's a lot of variety out there. Just not enough variety on the tabletop RPG section. We need more people streaming tabletop RPGs. D&D has the world. Let's carve out a little corner for those other tabletop games. That's what I'm all about. Thank you, Socks. Yes, the Imperial credits, the little red sunshine in the bottom corner, which is a link to a Traveller thing. There's lots of points there. Feel free to choose what you want. We do, thank you, Ewan. We have one, I'll drink to that, which is 1 credit because we want everyone to be able to afford it. Quite a socialist thing, really. So whenever anyone says something that you agree with, you can pay a credit and you can drink to it. You can agree to it and drink to it, which is lovely. But there's lots of things from game, not game breaking, game bending. We stand for you, and that's a very important one.
One that is always muchly appreciated by me.
Because this channel is it's a non-stand and non-thirst stream. The only person we're allowed to stand for is Ewan and Greyhill. There's 2, and Sammy. There's 3 people we stand for in this channel, but only one is real.
Only one is on this planet currently.
Exactly. So we stand for Ewan. It's one of the options, and the geeks and there's a lot of standing in this channel. You're right, Socks. You've totally proved me wrong. How embarrassing.
Yeah.
So on that bombshell, we'll do some introductions, I guess, and then we'll start. My name is Luke. Hello, I'm in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm red on blue. I'm drinking a very nice, what was it? A Western Cape South African Shiraz tonight. I picked it because it's got a screw top, and it's just easier. For no other reason. But it turns out Ben and myself are drinking wines from very close to each other geographically. It's a strange world. Lemon Lee's back. How you doing, Lemon Lee? I play 2 characters in this story. I play Kara and Soraya. Now, Kara, if you don't know, if it's your first time, is they're both ladies, and Kara is an artist / computer expert / talker, carouser. She's quite blunt, I would say. She can be quite abrupt with things. She can just talk just openly when someone's best friend has died, like she did last week. And she also does the deals and things like that. Soraya is a jack of all trades. She's the female Han Solo, maybe less talented, but she does a bit. She's honest. She gets her hands dirty. She's a bit rough around the edges. Big fan of Soraya, and those are my 2. Next to me is my comrade, my friend, the man with the poniest headphones, PWM, not just horses, the poniest headphones on Twitch. He doesn't have the little cat ears though, sadly. Maybe an upgrade's needed. It is Ewan. How are you doing, Ewan?
I'm good, thanks, Luke. Pretty good. I play Stefan and Agnar, and I'm running out of things to say about them if I'm honest, week after week. Stefan is a general day-to-day space roguey type, bit of streetwise, lots of dexterity, gun combat, and that's about it. Dropped out of military college. And Agnar is Wolfman Varga, former general, military tactician, medic, and the daddy of the group, I suppose. He's slightly older than everyone else. Likes to try and look after them, as much as it may annoy them from time to time.
Right.
And often gets left with the bill for a brunch.
In fact, there is an option available, people. If you think that a bill is turning up and you think that Agnar needs to fulfil his fatherly duties, there is an option to make Agnar foot the bill.
That is true.
Always worth it. The one way Agnar can't look after them is with his physical strength. If you look at the top of the screen, that will scroll across the characters and will give you a bit of information about the characters so you know sort of what to expect. We haven't fist bumped, Ewan. We're next to each other today as well. Look at that. Perfect. Yep. Lovely. It's official. It's like resetting the CLD counter on a Thursday. The man on the end. I was going to say the lemon on the end, but we've actually got someone in chat called Lemon, and so we've got two lemons tonight. Is the smartest man in any room he goes into. The man who lives 24 hours a day in the Twin Peaks dream sequence. The man who shaved off his beard, and it means he only has one if we can get people to pay some credit so we can put a false beard on him for a little bit. There we go. Don't move. Don't move. There we go. There it is. That's it. That's perfect. There, look there. That's it. There it is. It is the mighty GM, or referee as we call them in Traveller. It is Ben. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, I'm fine. Except I've got a very sore arm for some reason. I think I've torn a muscle or something. But
Oh no.
Yeah, fairly minor as injuries go.
It's those extra strong weights you've started lifting. I told you to start with slightly lighter ones, but no, you said.
It is, but I insist on pints. What can I tell you?
That is true. Halves just don't look right in your hand, to be honest.
They look too far away. It's weird.
And what with all your eye worries, we don't want to mess around with that sense of distance.
It's true.
Oh, what have you got for us tonight, Ben? What magical excitement have you got for us and the rest of our crew in chat?
Well, it seems worth doing a little bit of a catch-up then. So, on Dilub Rou, Rocky and Bleak, the travellers have spent much of their time helping Telon Rack, resplendent former Marine. First, they helped him get a deal on a second-hand vehicle, then helped him take ownership of his new house. You know the sort of thing. Walk the place together, find out what might be needed on the property, meet the neighbours, assemble a multi-stage commando raid at the dead of night in order to slaughter the band of criminals in the property and make it possible to move in. The usual sort of thing. Afterwards, the after-party moved to the Priory of Panunzio, where the surviving bandit seems to have found a safe haven. More importantly, the travellers visited a garden, no fatalities, and followed up on their promise to deliver the recovering Garo Kavarian back to his damaged home. It turned out he'd had a visitor of some sort, but was a bit vague about the details. At Garo's place, there was a bit of subtle snooping, and Garo evaluated the damage to his workshop caused by the Pan System power accident, and found a piece of debris left over from the crash. The next place to visit seems to be Bycrest, another property in the small and dispersed community of Swisher. So we again find ourselves speeding across the rough surface of the planet with the unknown ahead. And that is where we resume the story.
Oh. That's right. That's where the notisserie is, correct?
The
notice-
notisserie.
The notisserie.
Yes.
Sorry, I keep thinking of it as rotisserie. Sorry.
Yeah, but with nuts. Giant almonds on a rotisserie.
Oh, keep talking.
The notisserie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Don't,
more sense.
no, it doesn't. Don't.
No, it really
No,
doesn't.
it's notisserie. It's not my fault my spelling's bad. Sparrow, are they extremely quiet still? Okay, bear with me a second. Let me just mess with things. Roll. Right, tell me why. Tell me why. Oh, hang on. How about this? How about you two speak a bit more?
Yeah, sure.
Test.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Whoa. How about that? They should be quite loud now.
How about now?
Oh, how about now? Is that good? Thank you. Almost too. Would we say almost too loud? I think we'd say almost too loud. I did think they were quite quiet in my ears, but I just assumed they were doing their sexy nighttime voices because it's Saturday night. Things are sort of chill, audible. Oh, hang on. Let's go again. They're the most important people. Hang on. Okay, let's go big. Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. Yeah.
Hopefully you can hear me. It'd be nice.
Whoa! I can get new eardrums in the afterlife. It's okay. Okay.
What's up with your headphones, Luke?
They're really loud. I don't know what's going on. That's why when Sexy Boy plays, it always like bursts my ears almost. It's terrible. Cool. We're good.
No one else can hear us, and Luke is deaf.
Exactly. Everyone's
It's a
a
good
winner.
start.
It turns out Luke's incipient deafness may be best for the channel if it makes him turn the volume up a bit more.
Yeah.
It's a self-solving problem.
All my years playing in a band should have helped that, really, shouldn't it?
Yes. Good evening, Sparrow. Nice to have you with us.
It's
Good. We've all got volume now. This is excellent. Cool. Okay, we're heading off to Bycrest.
Yes. So the vehicle speeds across the desert and a very, very rocky surface of Dilub Rou. It's not a very long journey though. Within half an hour or so, you can see the terrain begins to show the outskirts of Bycrest. It turns out to be, as is common around this area, built up against a cliff face, right into the escarpment. Bycrest is, however, slightly more elaborate than either Garrow's Place or Morse's Pit, which you've seen before. It's built into quite a large crevasse cut into one of the cliff walls of the escarpment. And the first part of it you see is actually a fence that marks the entrance to the canyon. The fence does have a gate in it, and the gate is open and doesn't appear to be routinely shut. But it obviously marks a property boundary. And conscious of that, Rack brings the G carrier to a stop just outside the fence, and everyone can pile out and take a look at the property.
Nice.
If you wish.
If people die at Bycrest, I assume they're buried in graves. I'm wondering if there's still space for more graves, or if they've reached max by graves. Where's that tumbleweed sound from Shooting Stars? That's what I was trying to go for. So.
You think it was tumbleweed, but Ben and I are just really quiet in volume.
Explains a lot. Okay. Does it? I'm guessing there's no one hurtling towards us, running with pointy sticks or mining equipment.
No, it all seems very quiet.
Suspiciously so. Garrow's with us, isn't
he?
Yeah. Cara will turn to him. Is this normal, Garrow? They happy for people to come and go as they want?
Pretty much. Yeah. And he sort of starts preparing to head out from the G carrier.
Any sort of last words on us of things that we should do or not do? We don't want to make certain signals with our hands that are sort of wrong for here, or say the wrong thing, or pronounce a name wrongly.
I think you'll be all right. It's fairly rough and ready sort of community, Swisher.
Yeah, that's all right then. Good stuff. Cool. Lead the way. Are we okay, guys? We heading on?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. You set off away from the G carrier. Beyond the fence, there's an area where the canyon is relatively rocky. It looks to be largely natural, but it's also possible that because there were rocky, unpleasant areas, bits you wouldn't want to walk on or drive over, they may have put some mine leavings there as well. And it could even, in darker days, have been helpful for defending the canyon if it came under attack. The area behind seems to therefore expand, even though the canyon itself doesn't really get wider. It's just that the bit you would normally walk on becomes wider, if you see what I mean. And beyond it, you can see a fair distance back, a couple of 100 meters. There are two of these hatch-sealed mine entrances covered in the sort of prefabricated building units, one on each side of the canyon, almost directly opposite each other. And Kavarian, he sort of walks through and straight past them, ignoring them, straight towards what's at the end of this little area. It's not strictly the end of the canyon. The canyon does continue, but it becomes very much narrower after this point. And directly in front of you, there are three quite large prefab buildings, much larger than the ones that Garrow has at his place, much larger than the ones you've just walked past. And the three of them just exist in a row, parked against the escarpment.
Oh.
And Garrow seems to be walking towards the middle one.
Is there any signage on the outside of any of them?
Roll a survival check for me.
Okay, I will. Oh, I haven't been warming the dice. What a mistake. What a mistake. Flat survival.
Yeah, you can have intellect with this one.
Thanks. That'll be a +2 in total then. So people that haven't played Traveller before, a standard success is with 2d6 is an 8. You add certain skills. So if I'm rolling with Kara, I've got a survival skill of 0, their specific skills, and her overall intellect is a +2. So I'll add 2 to my dice roll is. But if Ben's deciding that it's a tougher thing to do, it'll be more than 8. The dastardly character. We've had to hit 14 in the past, haven't we? I think a couple of times.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and once or twice you've actually hit
Done
14.
It. Yeah, that was stunning, staggering stuff. Right, here we go. So I've hit a 7. +2 is 9.
Okay. As you approach the vehicles, there doesn't appear to be any obvious signage. It's a small enough facility that perhaps anyone who's here is likely to know where they're going anyway. You do notice that the building on the left, which is the one closest to the continuing, much narrower canyon extension, seems to be more secure than the other two. The one on the left appears to have newer security features. It seems to be maintained a bit better.
Oh, like a moth to the light if you start mentioning those things. Kara will wink at Stefan. Kara will wink at Stefan. So Stefan, look at this one. Look at this building. Look at this
one. He'll nod back. Garrow, he'll say, "What were those two?" He'll gesture towards the things that we just walked straight past.
Um, they're the actual mine works. So when people are working, they use those prefabs for storing equipment and safety gear. That's where the ByQuest makes its money, basically. The same as the one I have at my place, but mine is not in use at the moment. I took it over to act as a workshop there because the mine was pretty much tapped out there. Here it's still busy. It's still turning out money.
Stefan will say, mine is not in use at the minute. I see what you did there. Thanks, though. Thanks. It's good to know.
And you keep walking forward. Garrow is still leading straight towards the middle one, and you get pretty close to it. Just 20 or so meters away, perhaps, when the front of the building at the main entrance doorway, which is obviously an airlock hatch, swings open, and a figure emerges. And as soon as the figure emerges, it's a very slim, petite female figure in shape, even identifiable through the shape of the vac suit. Even definitely a small figure. Garrow immediately raises his hand well above his head and sort of waves to her, and yells out, "Penna, Penna, it's Garrow." And a couple of seconds later, over the sort of local comm channel that you all keep open most of the time when around other people wearing vac suits, you can hear her voice respond, "Garrow, you well?" And Garrow starts explaining that he's basically back on his feet, but it's going to be a little while to be fully back to 100%. But she seems quite cheerful about it.
How is spelling Penna? Sorry, before Ewan does his thing.
Penna.
Thank you.
Can Stefan have a look around? Are there any obvious security cameras on the outsides of the buildings that would have informed them that we're coming? Or is this just a lucky circumstance that they were leaving as we were arriving?
You can use either, I think. You can use recon or you can use survival. Whichever is the better for you, with intellect in either case.
I'm going to change my sheet to the right person. That is a 9 plus 0 plus 0. So it's a 9.
A 9, okay. That was a complicated sum.
That took way longer than it should have done as well. To find
I know what you mean. There appears to be a camera directly above the airlock door, presumably just to let people know when guests are approaching. It's not uncommon in these kind of things because it's an airlock seal. If you wait until somebody's literally outside your door, and then they sort of ring a doorbell or something, then what would happen is it might take you a minute and a half to actually open the outer door.
Yeah.
So it's not at all uncommon to have a camera attached to a little device that says there's movement out front, and then you can go and greet people as they approach. There doesn't appear to be anything else that you would consider to be high security, not visibly.
Okay, cool. Nothing to worry about. Stefan was just, interested. He likes to have a lay of the land, as it were. Okay, cool.
Okay. As Garrow approaches, the rest of the group all filter in behind, and he begins to make some introductions. And he turns to you all and says, "This is Penna Nortesseri. She's one of the owners here." And these are my posse, I guess. And he introduces everyone to Penna. And she is quite, she's quite welcoming and relaxed. Doesn't seem to be remotely alarmed that there's a very large group of strangers, most of whom are very heavily armed, just turn up at her front door. It doesn't seem to worry her at all.
Hello, Agnar also. No, nice to meet you. Thanks for having us. I suppose we're not really in anywhere yet.
You're welcome. Given that there's so many of you, it might make sense for us to go into the hall rather than the house, if you know what I mean. And she sort of steers everyone with those kind of quite overdone gestures, as if she's on a stage and trying to convey some sense of motion. It's very common when people wear vac suits because you hear voices just in your ears without any sense of direction, that if somebody's talking, they tend to gesture a lot with their arms to make it clear that they're doing the talking. People get into the habit of doing that. So she's almost, doing it's almost like she's trying to land an aircraft at an airfield, if you know what I mean. And she sort of waves her arms to indicate the direction of the hall.
Yeah. Agnar will say, yes, of course. And he'll sort of mirror her, not entirely body language, but, the extremity of her gestures. And he'll say, so house, hall, mines, what's the other building?
That's for our mining equipment. Heavy kit, vehicles, and the more modern loading equipment we use. So that one's probably not much of interest to you. The hall, however, is a big open space. Because we've got the room here and nobody else really in Swisher has, we tend to keep that space available for community meetings and, well, whenever we have large numbers of visitors.
Yes, of course. I understand completely, and he'll carry on gesturing over the top so that she knows that it's still the same person talking who hasn't actually moved anywhere. But, he's very unfamiliar with this, I guess. Please lead on.
She leads you towards the rightmost of the three buildings. And though you can't tell immediately from the outside, when you see the size of the airlock, you realize that this has clearly been configured on the basis that significant numbers of people might be coming and going. If you remember, only about 3 of you could fit into the lock at Garrow's place. Here, you could easily fit 30.
Oh, wow.
It's a substantially larger space. So she pops open the outer door, and you catch a little tail end of a click back and forth without hearing any content. She was obviously speaking to someone over a closed channel communication, but not with enough care to hide the fact that you could hear her click over before she clicked off, if that makes sense. So she wasn't trying to conceal it, just trying to not distract people with something that wasn't for them, I guess. At least that would normally be your interpretation.
Yeah. When you say big enough for, say, 30 people, are we talking 30 people crammed in? Could you fit like a small vehicle, like an ATV in here? In theory.
You could probably fit not an actual ATV. You could probably fit a ground car or something like that in the space, but you probably unless it was a very unusual design, you
Door.
wouldn't get it through the actual door. The door is a normal airlock door, wide enough for a couple of people to walk abreast, maybe.
Yeah, cool.
The other building seems to similarly have a normal sized door, but obviously you haven't seen inside that one. That may have an enormous airlock for all you know.
Yeah, cool. Okay, perfect.
It's very large in here. Oh, I guess it makes sense though, if they've got a lot of people coming and going. Penna, how many people, if you don't mind, you feel free to be secretive about these things, it's your business. How many sort of people were working around here at any one time?
She gives it a thought. Can you roll a persuade for me, please?
I can certainly try.
With social, please.
Okay, so +3. That's good. Oh, the second 6 and 1 of the night. 7 + 3 is 10.
Okay. When she responds, you get the sense that she's wondering if you might be a big client potentially. It appears that maybe she thinks you're asking questions about the operation that might lead to revenue for her. And she immediately says, it depends on the workload at the time. Sometimes, like now, it's just Rocco and myself. But when we have big orders to fulfill, which sometimes happens, we take on short-term employees as needed, or independent contractors who often come with their own kit. The largest number I think we've ever had working here was about 10, but they were all other WEF people because we needed to fulfill a big order, and we all worked together on the mines here to get the order fulfilled as quickly as possible. In fact, it was during that process that we did the main conversion on this building, because it's not exactly luxury in there, but we filled it with bunks, if you understand.
Yeah, make sure there's enough space for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, our house is quite big, same size as this building, but we've got it full of stuff, and our own collected detritus of a life lived out on the frontier. And we don't really want to start throwing stuff away or making big changes to the way we live.
No, for sure. Do you is it you and Rocco? Do you guys spend 12 months, well, whatever the year is in Dilub Rou? Do you spend the whole year here, or do you ever head back to the port or another town or anything like that? Or is your life literally here?
We basically live here all the time. We take trips to towns or to meet clients or whatever, but barely more than overnight.
How long you been here for? It's quite remote. It takes a certain kind of person,
I first came here when I inherited the place, so that's about 15 years ago.
Wow.
And initially, when I came, my plan was to find out what it was worth and sell it. But then I started getting that thought in my head that maybe I could sell it for a bit more if it was a properly going concern, if all of the equipment worked, if the mine had recent numbers associated with it. So I asked around to see if I could find a really reliable miner, someone who knew what he was doing, to come out here and help me. And Rocco turned up, and the rest is kind of history.
Can Stefan will just quickly open a private channel to Soraya, and he'll just say, Rocco definitely sounds like a competent miner to me. Get it? No, give her a little nudge.
Oh don't upset. She comment messages back. Just don't upset me, Stefan. Such nonsense. I'm more interested if by minor she meant OR or ER after all the rumours we've heard from around these parts.
That's true. That's true.
Well, it turns out a moment later you're in the space. It is pretty much as billed a big hall. There's a load of furniture scattered around it. It's cheap. It's basic. It's mostly sort of just screwed together, molded plastic pieces. There doesn't seem to be any particular pattern to it. It's in whatever state it was left by the last community meeting, if you see. The property it seems reasonably well maintained, reasonably clean, but it's not winning any prizes for elegance. And by the time you've sort of taken in the space, the airlock behind you is already cycling again, and the door opens, and in comes this really quite substantial looking male human, who once inside immediately pops his lid off his vac suit and stands there beaming at everyone. Hello, welcome.
You must be Rocco.
I am Rocco, and you must be people I don't know.
We are, but we don't need to be people we don't know for long. I'm Kara, your new best friend.
I'm not.
Exactly. Don't listen to him. He's been very excited about meeting you, whatever he's saying. This in fact is your new best friend, aren't you, Agnar?
It's a pleasure to meet you. And he'll hold out his hand.
I'm
joking, of course.
Rocco starts shaking hands all round and meeting everyone. He seems particularly pleased to see Garrow, and embraces him quite warmly and sort of sizes him up and seems to sort of check him over a little bit to make sure he's not too badly hurt. And it appears that Garrow and Rocco are reasonably close friends.
Are we spelling Rocco the way I'd expect to?
ROCCO.
Oh, CCO. Ooh. It's like Rococo. No, something for. There we go.
Agnar will say, perhaps I should do introductions to everybody else. Obviously, Garrow here. This is Kara, Soraya, Stefan. I'm Agnar, and this is Tilum Rak. He came in with us, I assume.
Oh, indeed. Yes. And Rak is standing there beaming at everyone, as he often does, resplendently. And he begins to introduce himself as sort of not exactly a neighbor, but sort of a new neighbor. I mean, I'm not really a neighbor. I'm a bit further out than you lot, but I've moved into Morse's Pit. You don't know Morse's Pit, do you? It's miles away. Why would you know Morse's Pit? He's sort of rambling on like this.
Oh, he's a bit flustered.
Yeah.
Oh. Sammy's with us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cara will sort of push Sammy forwards a little bit. She'll say, "This is Sammy. She's our geologist and our rock nerd from on board our ship. I don't know if Sammy, is there this must be at least some interest to you, I guess, a place like this."
Sammy nods and looks around and then realizes she's looking around the inside of a hut and then sort of realizes what you mean and says, yes, I mean, the geology is fascinating.
What is it that you guys are generally digging for here? Like, if it goes above my head, don't worry, I'm just a common person, but I'm sure Sammy will know.
Rocco sort of nods briefly and sort of as if he's he's used to that kind of question. It's his trade. And he says, well, I'm not really an expert, you understand. So this is going to be from the perspective of someone who digs up the shiny rock rather than a real geologist, of course. But basically, we're after high pressure doped mesosilicates.
Agnar nods as if he knows what they're talking about.
Kara immediately looks at Sammy.
For anything in particular?
Just to see if she totally understands what's going on. Then she's like, half opening her mouth, like, what?
Sammy takes your cue and says, so the impact actually produces high pressure silicates, and Rocco says, oh yeah, waves of them in sort of layers around each major impact on the surface. It's not something I'm an expert in, but it's like a frozen wave on the surface of water. And at the peaks and at the troughs, there is the highest pressure change relative to the direction of movement of the rock from the expansion. And in those locations, you get collections of these mesosilicates, high pressure mesosilicates that are doped with whatever materials were in the original impact. And that original impact could be from a very valuable rock.
They do sound dope.
Stefan says, I take it we're not talking about recent impacts here.
Well, this place is in a crater. He sort of glances across at Sammy as if, help me.
I mean, we're not in danger, right?
And he turns back and he says, I think the crater we're in right now is probably 1.5 billion years ago.
That's even older than you, Agnar.
He sort of just scoffs and looks to see if Rack was paying any attention to that underhanded comment from his colleague. And then moves the conversation on. But obviously there is a somewhat new crater over at Garrow's place, I assume.
Oh, yeah. I didn't go over to check, but I heard what happened, of course. Word travels fast in a community like this. Did it really leave a crater?
Quickly out of character, Ben, there was some impact there, wasn't there?
There was evidence on the surface. Crater would be generous.
Yeah.
Grooves and scratches rather than crater, yeah.
Well, I mean, it was more a crater in... sorry, Garrow, about being so blunt, but in your house, I suppose, than in the actual surface.
An emotional crater.
It's certainly an emotional crater, which is why we're here, I think. Maybe more the physical one in the house than the emotional one, or the one on the surface. But anyway, there was definitely an impact. You know, I feel as though any minute now the sky could come falling down.
Well, he turns back to Garrow and says, "So, the damage was bad or fixable?" And Garrow says, "Oh, it'll be fixed. It's definitely fixable. Might be calling on you for some help with getting myself set up again." And you get this brief moment where Rocco nods along, and then he says, "I was rather hoping it wasn't fixable and we'd convince you to move in here. Be useful to have you on site, but I get you want your own place." and the two start to chuckle and wander over to the sort of side area where there are some drinks stored in sealed containers. And as they reach there, Rocco starts pulling out the sort of drawers and cupboards there, and holding up things and offering them around.
Speaking of drinks, Ben, you need to drink.
There's been an influx.
There's been an influx. Kelly's here as well. You right, Kelly? Man, we're full of people.
Hey, Kelly.
All our favourite peoples are turning up. It's great. And we've got people, legits joining in. We've got all sorts. Lemons throwing things at us left, right and centre. I've got to build Clonk in somehow because I forgot to take it off. As they go over and a drink, Soraya would like to. Is there any furniture in the room?
Yes, a series of essentially fairly cheap but rugged, screw together, bolt together plastic tables and chairs, that kind of thing.
Soraya's gonna wander over to a screwed together chair, and she's sort of gonna look it up and down, sort of lean away on it a little bit, and give it a kick to see a clonking kick to see how sturdy it is.
Okay, can you make a strength check, please?
I will.
And that's athletic strength with strength.
Okay. So I'll lose athletic strength if I don't have any athletic strength.
If you don't have any athletic strength, you'll be -3 on your strength.
No, I've got a jack of all trades, so it's a -1.
Oh, okay, -1.
Nice.
Oh dear, she's not very strong today. A 3 -1 is a 2.
A 2.
A 2.
Wow.
I think I have hurt my toe bits.
Okay.
No more clonks.
Thankfully, you're not in any immediate danger of being injured, for obvious reasons. I mean, you're not that strong, and you're wearing a vac suit.
That's true.
However, you completely fail to make contact with the chair you're trying to kick. And it looks like this really weird twitching motion that you made vaguely in the direction of a chair, which attracts the attention of a couple of people who sort of look at you oddly like, are you feeling all right?
She'll try and style it out. A bit like Del Boy when he's gone through the bar. She'll like shrug her shoulders up.
Oh, yeah.
And then
I meant to do that.
And then try and put her hand out and wobble the chair a little bit. I'm sure, good stuff here. Good stuff here. Okay.
Stefan will wander over. Are you all right? Do you want to sit down? And he'll just pull the chair out.
What from under her? No. I don't know. I had a sudden urge to kick something come over me. I'm glad I didn't cause any damage. Then she'll sit down on the chair. She'll say, "Can you get me a drink, Stefan? See if they've got. It feels like brunch time. See if they've got a mimosa or anything."
I'll get some drinks.
Okay.
He'll head over.
There are a selection of drinks, all of which I think it's fair to say fall into two categories. One is water and various slightly coloured and flavoured versions of water. So cheap squashes and cordials, basically, but pre-mixed with water. And the other category is cheap, or in fact, homemade alcohol. But an interesting selection. Some quite dark green coloured Rockthol, which they may even make on the premises. You never know.
Yeah, very nice. Stefan will pick up one of the alcoholics and one of the squashes, and he'll wander back over to Soraya. I've got an alcohol and I've got non-alcohol. Which
is it? An orange-looking squash?
No, both green. I picked up both green ones.
I'll pour them. I'll pour some of the alcohol into the squash. I'll make do with what I've got.
Take both.
It's an almost brunch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sounds good.
She gulps it down.
Okay.
Will she like it? Is it a tasty treat? What is Rockthol like, Ben?
Well, Rockthol takes both its colour and its flavour from the minerals that it's filtered through.
Yeah.
In this case, these are local silicates, and not the very finest of Rockthol filtering materials. But there is something nice about it being a local, distinctive flavour, not one you've had before. And they seem to take it quite seriously. They seem to produce a decent enough drink. Not the kind of thing that would be served at a very fine hotel, but equally, it's perfectly adequate.
Well, that's good. She'll sip it. This is the sort of thing that she'll be used to from all her years floating around Borderlands.
Yeah.
So she sort of, so that, you know, the little bit of the burn and the little bit of the wince that you'll do sometimes. She sort of quite likes that side of the drinking. So yeah, she enjoys it and nods at Steph and says, "You should try some as well. It's good stuff, man."
Is it all right?
Yeah.
I'll maybe later. It's a bit early in the day for me still. And he'll head back and grab a glass of squash.
Oh, thank you, Fids, for gifting a tier 1 sub to Legitimine.
Oh, thank you, Socks. That's so kind of you.
Legit. What I'll need to do is I'll message you on what's the thing with Twitch later if you're willing. Part of what comes with subs is you get freebies each month that someone subbed, and the first month is a zine, which will actually give a bit of background information to some of the characters and what makes them tick and things like that. So I will, if you're happy, I'll message you later, and then you can give me the email or not. It's up to you. And if you do, I'll send you a PDF. Okay, cool. Sorry, back on with the thing. That's something I think we need to pause for when someone offers such a thing.
Yeah.
That's very generous.
Okay. No, thank you, Socks. That's really, really kind. And yes, I mean, if you are happy to give us contact details, please do, because I think you'll enjoy the little electronic PDF zine very much.
It's got a crossword.
It does have a crossword. And that crossword hasn't been sold to the New York Times, so it's only got the one standard solution.
Exactly. And anyone can do it.
Well, you say that.
It's going to be tough. It's niche. I'll give you that. It's quite niche.
So, everyone settles down. It's not as if there's a table that's large enough to seat everyone around, but then people aren't really worrying about the tables. They're just pulling chairs into a rough circle and settling in. People seem quite happy to have Garrow back.
Is anyone else kicking chairs into the position? It
turns out, no. Pretty much that was just the one time.
Stefan will kick his into position, just so she feels a little bit better.
Oh, good.
Less unusual.
Yeah.
Or equally as unusual as Stefan.
Well, you know what I'm going to say. Stefan, can you roll a strength check?
Yes.
I just wanted to.
Oh, Stefan's got more strength. While you're doing that, thank you, Socks, for giving a tier 1 sub to Lemon Lee as well.
Socks.
I'll message you as well, Lemon, and we'll get you something on the way if you fancy it. Socks is big. Look at that. Everyone's a winner, baby. That's the truth.
That's a 6 rolled plus 0 once again.
Oh.
So that is a 6.
Okay. So, you of course do make contact with the chair, but it doesn't really move in the way you were anticipating. By their nature, these are lightweight, inexpensive, molded plastic components bolted together. And though they're reasonably strong in terms of sitting on them, they don't have a lot of rigidity. So effectively, what you end up doing is just kicking the leg in a bit, and then it springs back out again. It's not a particularly elegant move.
No.
Soraya basically goes like Nelson from The Simpsons. Ha ha.
But of course she does.
Stefan just nods. He's very used to the interaction, and sits down with his glass of squash.
Oh, I've got to do an art attack. I'll do it during the break, Kelly. Philosophy is more powerful than the laser sword. I can do that part of it. Hang on, let me write that down. Right. Yeah, so I guess we've all got drinks and we've all sat down. Lovely.
Yep. Garrow seems to be very, very happy to be among friends, sitting in a comfortable environment with a drink in his hand. He has, perhaps unsurprisingly, not gone for a non-alcoholic drink, and he is, cheerfully throwing back a drink and beaming at everyone.
Cara smiles at Rocco. Like we're all sat down and there's obviously a lot in the chairs. She's like, "You're not going to try and sell us timeshares or pyramid selling, are you, while we're here? It all seems very comfortable."
He sort of looks shocked, and then he says, "Well, of course not. But do you know anything about NFTs?" No, obviously he doesn't say that. Clearly, this is set in the far future, and NFTs are not a thing.
Well, it's good to hear.
It's nice that it makes me feel like I've got hope now, knowing that they won't be around in the future.
Yes, tragically, they've also abolished the Miami Dolphins. So, swings and roundabouts.
I guess we got the
which was abolished first, then?
Oh, I think you know the answer to that.
At least we've still got the geeks.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Up the geeks. Up the geeks.
For anyone who doesn't know, Luke is a Dolphins fan.
Yeah.
Well, somebody has to be.
I'm a bit worried whether Lemon's happy that the Dolphins are abolished. That's very upsetting if you are. Cool. Okay. Cara will speak to Penna, isn't it? I keep thinking of it like the pasta, but not quite. Penna.
Penna, yes. Penna Nortessery.
Do you ever get many flights coming over here from like PSP or anything? Do you ever get bothered by those guys?
Roll a persuade with social.
Oh well, +3. Hopefully better roll than last time. Sea creatures. Oh dear. That's a 6 +3 is 9.
Okay. She gives it some thought, rather than just. It looked as if she was going to shrug it off, and then she gives it some thought, and she says, "Obviously, we don't hear them. You don't hear anything. You occasionally see something go overhead. But truthfully, when you're out here on your own a long way away from civilization, it's actually quite reassuring to see something fly back and forth every now and then, or a bit of a dust trail in the distance from an ATV traveling out there from A to B. Sometimes from the entrance to the property, you can see little bits of dust on the horizon that come from vehicles going to and from the priory, and that's always nice to see. You want to have a sense of there being a bit of life out there when you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of it.
Oh, for sure. And have you ever had run-ins with Lara's band at all? We know that they've been quite active around these parts.
Yeah, they came to see us, I guess, a year or so ago. They came mob-handed. They turned up and they pretty much told us to mind our own business and stay away from Morse's pit, and we wouldn't get hurt.
Stefan says, "Sorry, they told you to mind your own business."
Oh.
It's okay though. I think it's safe to say that they're not in the area anymore. Our friend here has moved in, or all but moved in to Morse's Pit, isn't that right, Rack?
Oh yes, it says. Yes, they were infesting my new property. So well, we cleaned it out. Everyone seems quite pleased to hear that.
Yeah, so hopefully that's one less thing for you to worry about around here.
Well, anything I can do to help.
Exactly.
Rack takes the opportunity to nod across at Amelia Jacks, and then turns back to the Nortessaries and says, "So, I've been hearing tell about the local wildlife. Apparently, there are some things I should be watching out for as a new homeowner in the area." And there's a sort of bit of a chuckle from Penna, who says, "Well, sure. I mean, keep your doors locked at night, and I mean proper locked, because Moamps will tear through a fence and then tear through an entire community if they get the chance. They're big and angry. They grow up to about 4 meters long, full size, enormous things. But they only really hunt at night, which is probably because during the daytime you want to avoid the sand crates, and I mean those things are horrific."
Sand crates? What are sand crates?
You haven't seen them? I guess you wouldn't.
We've seen Moamps. We've killed Moamps. Well, and then Kara turns and says, "Well, they've killed Moamps. I'm a woman of peace." But sand crates? No. What are they?
Well, you'll be pleased to know that Moamps, when encountering a woman of peace, immediately leave her alone and move on to the next person.
Well, that's what I experienced. Mostly because I sat on top of an ATV drinking while everyone else did the shooting.
Oh, right. Well, if you've got people around you doing the shooting, you're probably fine. Yeah.
Agnar will chirp in. That did happen.
Sand crates, they need a warmer temperature than Moamps. They generally live in deeper caves and crevasses. So we find them all the time in mines and in the canyons where we work. But they come out in the daytime when the sun's up, because they can get some heat from the sun there. They hunt little bugs and insects, but for whatever reason, possibly because there's dangerous animals out there, they have the most vicious bite.
What sort of size are they?
Well, a big one grows to about, what do you think? Maybe 30 centimeters?
Okay. But they're vicious. They're vicious, nasty little things, are they?
They are incredibly easily startled. And when they're startled, they bite.
Are they...
Do you do that again? Are they... Do they have guns? I think is what she's trying to say. Could they? Is it anything to worry about if we're obviously going around in vac suits? Is their bite bad enough to cause us issue there?
Well, put it this way: Everybody I know who's ever died to a sand crate bite was wearing a vac suit when they were bitten.
That's understandable. How many people do you know? Or did you know?
2 that I know died of it, but there are always a few others rumored. You hear about a friend of a friend.
Yeah, sure. Well, sorry for your losses, I guess. Thanks for the information, though. That'll be one to keep an eye out for, or several, I suppose, to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and the big problem is everywhere you go, there's you'll probably be fine. You've got like armored and protected vac suits. They're bigger and thicker, but every time you open an airlock, you don't pay attention. One can sneak in behind you, and every now and then you need a shower.
When you said about the airlock sneaking in, Sarah automatically just turns around towards the airlock. Do I see anything?
Roll a recon check.
Every now and then it's on a -1. Oh no. 7 minus 1 is 6.
No, you don't spot anything.
I don't spot anything. Sarah's not having the best of days. She can't kick chairs. She can't see in front of her face. Oh no.
No, nothing other than just the airlock.
Do they go solo, or do they gang together in horrible little groups?
I don't think they're pack hunters, if that's what you mean. But when the condition's right, we've seen situations where the ground outside our buildings here, the whole ground seemed to be moving with them.
Oh wow! So they can swarm.
Can happen.
Well, that sounds somewhat unnerving. I look forward to that, Stefan says.
No, you'll be fine. Just keep your wits about you.
Sarah will nudge Stefan. She'll mouth flamethrower.
He'll hold up the torch. Keep your wits about you.
Quite right too. That's what you need. A flamethrower, obviously.
Clearly.
Thank you, Legit. Thanks for joining us from Greece as well. Wow, you're an hour ahead. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll always welcome you back. Come hang out again sometime. To Grey Hill, by the way, sorry. And Ben as well. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
For everyone that hung out. We're really newbies and Ben alike. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Take care, everyone. Legit. When you get onto the Discord, you need to go to one of the things and click a thing. It says there, but you can't chat until you've signed on, as it were.
Yeah, there's a welcome aboard channel where you just have to emoji react to some general be nice to everyone rules, and then everything opens up.
Cool. Brilliant. It's sorted. Okay, fantastic. Nice one. Cheers. Well, then we look forward to seeing you on there. Nice one. Cheers. And thank you, Ben, as well. Other Ben. Animal
Yeah,
Ben.
thanks, Ben. See you later.
John Flappman. Okay, cool.
We're done now.
We're done. Thank you. Oh, what a cliffhanger. I'll be thinking about those. I'll be thinking about those bugs all night. Cool. Cheers, mate. Thank you, guys. Interesting. Do you run into trouble there very often? Can you handle them? I take it the two of you are still alive. I'm guessing you're not having any trouble with them at the minute or anything.
We're careful. Well, anyone who lives out here learns to be careful,
No, for sure. How do I take it you make all your money from selling off your the rocks that you bring up from the ground?
Pretty much.
What happens with the guys that come over? Like she said some come over anyway, and then some come over as part of contracts and that. Is that the same? Like the contracted people get paid by their companies and the others get paid by rocks, or how does it work?
Well, imagine we've got a contract for a particular type of rock that we can get out of the ground here. And you're a miner the other side of the crater or just the other side of Swisher who needs a bit of work. Nobody's buying the rocks you pull out of your bit of the mine. You know, your own mine isn't productive at the moment because for whatever reason the market isn't there for that. But we're getting demand for more than we can dig up. You come over here, you sleep in the hall here, you work our mine, add your contribution to our load, and then you take your share of the profit.
Seems reasonable. I take it works both ways as well. So people bounce around to different mines depending on what the need is.
In general, that's true, though it's most convenient when we have a big load to hit. One of the reasons we've done so well here is we've actually got the space to put up people and to work what's a really very large mine here. So because we've got the largest mine in the territory, because we've got the largest accommodation space for other miners, this has become somewhere where people, you know, they come when they're looking for contract work for big bulk production. Most of the time, the miners, they're turning out small volume but high value product. It's only really here in our local community where we can also turn out high volume when it's needed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then every month or two, we get a visit from pretty much the whole community. They come and settle up in here for a while, sometimes just for an hour or two, sometimes overnight. And we talk and we plan and we agree what we're going to do next.
Can Agnar just ask? So, where's everyone mining at the minute? What's the where's the latest contract at?
Well, we're quiet right now because we just fulfilled a really big order, and we've got some damaged kit, worn out things, stuff that needs repairing. I mean, we're always happy to see Garrow, but we're particularly happy to see him now, you understand. We're hoping he can get us back up and running in time for the next order. So right now, we haven't got a lot going on. We're just ticking things over, keeping the mine in good nick and picking up any easy stuff that we can get. So a lot of what we're doing right now is some of the rock we pulled out into the working areas of the mines. We're sorting it to see if there's anything particularly valuable in there and then shipping off the leavings, get them out of the way so that we can push on quickly when it's our next contract comes up.
Yeah. Speaking of equipment, you don't rent equipment out to the miners, do you? I read this history book once about a terrible old mine that used to rent out mining equipment for more than people would get paid a day. I don't suppose you could rent vac suits here.
There's if you're a miner, if you're working here, personal safety equipment, vac suits, things like that, you'd bring them with you. We do have some kit here that's used to work the mine, you know, machinery, but we don't rent it to the miners. They just use it in order to work the mine.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
While we're here, and of course, we came in our own transport, and we came purely because of sort of hanging out with all our shared friend. Let's call him that, Garrow, a fine man. We can all agree. And Garrow, you really should look at moving here. These are lovely people. is there anything we can do for you guys while we're here? Is there any help you need at all? We don't have great skill at mining, but we've got other skills.
Roll a carouse with social for me.
Ah, they've been drinking. They've been drinking the jungle juice. It's called carouse with
Can you
what
carouse
social?
with squash?
No, they're not drinking it. Carouse with social. Okay, possibly. Time for some carousing, baby. We're 2 pints in, and I've just hit the biggest score of the night, so it's good. 11 plus 3 is a 14.
A 14.
Nice.
Cara's hit a rhythm.
There's sort of general nods around saying, well, you know, if you don't mind lending us your geologist, that'd be very handy. We'd like to take her down the mine, and she can point out anything we're missing, anything that might be of interest. If you're okay with that.
Cara sort of moves over close to Sammy and says, well, she says to the others, can you give us a minute? Well, we'll strongly discuss it. And sort of leads Sammy over towards the airlock and sort of puts a hand on her shoulder and says, how do you feel about that? Because I know the last time we sort of offered you out, it really didn't end well. Really? Fess. How do you feel about going down? Like, we can make sure someone goes down with you, I'd imagine. How do you feel?
She says, "Oh, I'd love to see the mines."
Yeah, fantastic. Are you happy going down with just them? Do you want someone to go with?
If people wouldn't be bored, I'm always happy to have company.
Fantastic. Cara turns around and says, I've been speaking to my associate here, and without wanting to put words into her mouth, well, I'm going to anyway. She would love to. In fact, is there a chance for a number of us to head down and have a look? And I know we'd be taking up space and mooching, but it'd be of interest to us while you guys did the serious poking around.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as it's not exactly an enormous space down there, but we can fit as many people as want to, provided you don't mind, you know, just 2 or 3 people at a time using the lifts and things like that.
Oh, this makes me think of Austin now. With that slow lift moving down into the darkness.
That lift.
Creaking down. That does sound good, though. It's been a while since we've been underground. We came across some really interesting spiders last time we were underground. Actually, they lived off space and warmth and weird things. Fascinating creatures. We can talk about it sometime if we're here for a little while over a drink and a meal. You might be interested in that kind of thing.
Yes.
But not now, because I haven't got my notes.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where, you know, somebody's gonna repeat that line from Jurassic Park. You know, it's I don't mind mine shafts. Yeah, well, you weren't in the last one.
Exactly. It's very dark, the last one. Oh no, that would be great. What time of the day is it then?
Effectively knocking on early evening.
Okay. I'm assuming it's too late to go faffing around downstairs now, though.
Normally, yeah, we wouldn't normally work the mines after dark, just in case something goes wrong. You know, you want to be able to get people out into the sunshine.
That makes sense. Sophie, are you happy for us to stay over for the evening, for the night?
Oh, of course, yeah. So she expansively waves her arm across the space. if you literally just hunt through the various cupboards and lockers around the walls, you'll find all sorts of beds and setups and whatever you're going to need. Just make yourselves at home. And if you need a locker to hide in, any of the lockers will do for that.
Oh, it's nice to know that there's lockers. It's even if you don't hide in one, it's nice to know there's some there, just in case. It's helpful. Thank you. That sounds great. Can we bother you for some food at all?
Oh, absolutely. I suppose the obvious thing to do is for us to drag some through here, and we'll cook a big communal meal.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. A late brunch. A late communal brunch.
Evening brunch.
Evening brunch. It does sound good. If you're happy to do that, that'd be amazing. And good night, then, Emily. That'd be amazing.
Good night. Thank you for joining us.
Mm,
Okay.
thank you very much.
So, Rocco, leaps to his feet and disappears out through the airlock, and is gone for a few minutes.
Stefan keeps an eye on the airlock when it opens.
Feel free to roll a recon check if you'd like.
Oh, go on then. Why not?
Recon with intellect.
That's a 9 plus nothing is 9.
Okay. You stare at it quite intently, and it's only after the door's closed you sort of twig that because it was the inner door that opened first, and now that's shut before the outer one does. There's pretty much literally no way you could have seen anything.
Yeah. Was that Stefan?
Yeah.
Soraya points at Stefan and goes, ha ha.
That's what it is. Yes. Yeah.
He goes back to the table for another squash.
Yeah.
Sits back down.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's just a few moments when the airlock cycles again, and you do spot that as the sort of foodstuffs are brought in by Rocco, he does seem to check around his feet, glance around the airlock as he comes in, as if he's just being cautious. And as he walks in, you notice that he does almost a pirouette. He just does a little turnaround so that Penna can cast an eye up and down him and make sure there's nothing attached. Clearly, they do worry about these sand crates.
Mm. Stefan, I say, aren't you? I mean, I appreciate you checking, but aren't you a little bit more worried about the Moamps chasing down the food that you're dragging in here this time of night, evening? Too early.
The Moamps won't be active till a bit later, but also Moamps are big enough that they'll only come in through the front entrance. They can't make it up and down the canyon walls, and they'll trigger the movement sensor outside. They'll be picked up by the camera.
That's good to know.
But the camera won't pick up a little sand crate.
They're quite quick maps, though.
They really are fast.
Well, worth noting to not, I don't suppose you would dine al fresco, but no, we won't take any food back with us when we leave later.
The smell wafting across.
No doggy bags.
Well, I think that's probably wise. Moamps have extremely acute senses.
They're extremely acute. Do you know, speaking of Moamps, you don't happen to know how long they spend in an egg before they hatch, do you?
There's sort of baffled look. And then Penna says, never really thought about it. didn't actually know they laid eggs, to be honest.
Okay, don't worry, don't worry. Just a throwaway thought. Cara looks away, sort of making a mental note. Like, oh god, better check back with the Baltic Star soon. So check on eggs.
Check on egg.
Check
Yes,
on
absolutely.
Egg check.
Egg check. A nice egg check.
All right. And as the sort of the box that Rocco brought with him is opened up, and out comes a variety of fairly generic, basic foodstuffs. These people aren't farmers. You're not going to get much in the way of locally produced material. This is commodity food from the local starport, brought down and just shipped in packets. But people have to live out here for prolonged periods of time, so they buy it. They buy it in bulk in a variety of different formats. And this kind of protein mix, yeast mix, all sorts of things is cheerfully chopped up and assembled into various forms of soup and stew and things of that nature. So it isn't very long before people are all sitting around one corner of the room or standing around one corner of the room, prodding at a big sort of bowl of vegetable and meat stew.
Nice.
This looks it does look lovely. Cara smiles and says, "Do you guys mind being on camera at all?"
No.
And she smiles, and then she pulls out her camera and she puts it on selfie mode. Hi, this is Cara Lasker. I'm here with the nut. What are they? The nutters.
Nortesseries.
The Nortesseries. I'm here with the Nortesseries here at Bycrest in Swisher. We are eating this wonderful meal. There's moamps outside. There's sand crates everywhere, but it's a beautiful place, and I can't recommend it as a place to stay. But if you're happy to get your hands dirty and get some rocks out of the ground, these guys are some of the most honest, legit people we've ever met. Let me introduce you to Rocco and Penna. How are you doing, Penna? Good day?
Good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Rocco, you're a lovely man. She puts her arm around him. This food is delicious. Is this your speciality?
It's stew.
Don't be so humble. It's a fine stew.
Good night, Socks. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks,
Socks. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to two generous people. Before I go, there's two more people I want to introduce you to. This is Garrow. Say hello, Garrow.
Hey.
He's been wronged by many people, but he's still got a smile on his face. And one more person. I know this will
conspicuously, he does not have a smile on his face, as you said.
There's one more person I want to introduce you all to. The most resplendent man in the room. It's Rack. How are you doing, Rack?
Oh, good as always.
A lot of you will recognise him if you've ever looked at a poster for the military. That's this guy. So how lucky are we to be with this guy? Look at him. This guy. Look at him and Agnar. They're getting on so well. Imagine being such good friends with this guy like Agnar is.
Oh. And Rack sort of starting to frown a little bit as you're going over and over the same thing.
Agnar just said, "Don't worry, she does this a lot. It fills up the dead air that would normally be streamed from her device."
She slightly frowns at him.
Wipes some stew from his facial hair.
Anyway, it's nice to have an attractive Varga with us for once, and good night, everyone.
Okay. Well, everyone digs into their food, and it is actually perfectly pleasant. Not complicated food, but there's plenty of it, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can tell.
Oh, lovely, fantastic. Um, as they eating, I guess Soraya nudges Stefan again and sort of nods slightly away, because I guess there's freedom to wander a little bit. It's not like we're being
Oh yeah,
chained anywhere. Sort of nods him away if he's willing to follow her just a few yards off.
John.
He'll probably misunderstand at first and start checking her back for any sand crates, and just look at her like, "Oh right, okay, yeah, sure. Follow off."
When he gets to her, she'll whisper, "By the way, I haven't got any sand crates on me, have I?"
No, you're all good. You're all good.
These guys seem lovely, but you and I both always sort of keep half an eye out for things. Is it worth just having a check around for anything of interest? Because I know I spotted you looking at cameras and things earlier and at the locks and that. Do you know what I mean? Just it's good to stay one step ahead, isn't it?
Yeah, well, me. I like to know. I'd like to know where I am and who's watching and anything that could be handy if we need it. I was just more surprised by the person coming out as we were approaching, so I assumed that there was something around for the cameras. But yeah, I'm happy to have a nose if you wanna nose around. I don't know quite how we're gonna sneak off. I mean, I know we just have, but not completely out of sight of anyone. Or did you have something else in mind?
I don't know. She'll turn back to the couple, and she'll say, because I guess it's still kind of early evening, isn't it? So what do you say? So early evening for food, so it's probably still going to be like 7 or something, like short time.
Yeah.
Is it? So, she'll say, is it safe outside to just take a wander and look around? Because it's a lovely, for newbies, it's a fascinating and lovely surrounding. Is it okay to stretch your legs, have a look around?
Yeah, absolutely. Help yourself. I'd just make sure you're back inside before dark.
Okay, that's fine. How long will that give us about?
This time of year, half an hour, maybe an hour.
Okay.
I mean, after dark, you don't have to worry about the sand crates anymore, but you can't outrun a Moab.
That is true. But we've got one thing the Moabs don't have: opposable thumbs.
Oh, have you not seen one up close?
I thought you were going to say
no!
They after dinner they bid everyone a good night and then set off back to their own home, leaving all of their guests to their own devices in the hall. There are little bits of entertainment facility available, but it's pretty generic, movie systems and the like, some video games, some physical games as well, board games and decks of cards and dice. Exactly the kind of thing you'd expect to find in a space that is sometimes a dormitory, and people, spend evenings there when they're about. There is enough to drink, enough to eat, and you have, as I say, over half an hour maybe before it's properly dark and you need to worry about Moabs. And that seems like a good time to take a break.
Yes, with the ever looming threat of Moabs.
It does indeed. We can plot what we're going to snoop around.
Yes, that's a good idea.
An excellent plan.
Some good snooping. Cool. Okay. We'll be back in 5 minutes then, everyone. Please don't go away. You can if you want, but come back. Do what we're going to do. Have a wee, get some food or a drink, get some fresh air, and we'll see you back in a few minutes. Yeah, please. Yeah, please. Okay.
Please.
let me sort things out. I'm not very good at this, but hang on. Okay. I'm good at a lot of things, but not this bit. That bit needs to go. That bit needs to go.
I love the commentary.
That bit comes on. Oh, we've still got rack up. Let's get rid of rack. There we go.
It certainly makes it.
Okay, let's have slip it a bit. Okay, we'll see you guys
Makes
for a few
it
minutes. It does.
In a bit.
Makes it special. Right, we're off. Welcome back, Ewan.
Hello, yes, welcome back to everyone who stuck around. Thank you very much. To anybody who's just joining in now, fortuitously, thank you very much. And to everyone on VOD who skipped ahead during our break, thank you very much for skipping. We're here for the most important part of the night, not every Saturday night, but certainly every traveller night, which is the toast to our beloved Grey Hill Bast, who is now on screen for you all, former NPC barman of our ship, who is no longer with us, alas. And we toast each traveller evening to his memory. I did make a promise, mostly to these two, but to everyone else as well, to keep the self-indulgent, over-the-top toasts to a one-off, one-on system. And to be honest, I've forgotten which one we're on, or at least I'm going to say I've forgotten, until the check clears from our sponsor last week, who will not be named again until the check clears. But for those of you who don't know, there is a plethora of Grey Hill Bast canon out there, to the great man himself. He was a kind man, he was a wonderful man, he's got glorious forearms and a glorious chin, frankly.
Glorious.
And I'm not sure what else I can say about him, frankly. He will be missed. He is missed every week. And all that is left for me to say is, could we all raise a glass to the late, great Grey Hill Bast?
Grey Hill Bast.
The late great Grey Hill Bast. I do like the fact that when Ben resplends with that background and the top he wears, it is like he's LARPing as Grey Hill.
It is indeed.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. He keeps the memory alive.
Less so when it's been a while since a haircut and the beard is there. But
when he's hiding the fine jaw, the fine Grey Hill jaw.
The chiseled jaw.
Yes, it certainly is a chiseled jaw. Jaw?
The jaw. Chiseled.
Something's chiseled.
I thought he did some DIY for a minute.
Yeah.
Draw.
He had very good draws.
Very good draws.
That's something completely different.
That's my late night show.
Grey Hill's Drawers should definitely be a stream at some point.
It's amazing to me you don't think this is a late night show.
I run on American time. Twitch makes me run on American time. Just sadly my body doesn't. Yes, we are okay. So as they leave, I guess, and sort of give the old count to 100 when they've gone. Like think, oh yeah, that's what it'd take to get there and there and there and there. Soraya sort of turns to Stefan and says, "Right, should we go and have a nose around? See what's out there."
Yeah, go on then. Let's see what's going on. Is there anything in particular we're looking for? Just shady stuff.
Shady stuff.
Stuff that's should be shady but isn't shady.
Yeah,
like, that type of stuff.
Yeah,
definitely covering something up stuff.
You know when like everything is like, well, not that things don't get rusty on this planet, do they? Because the air's good, but things that should look a bit beaten down and a bit used, but are like super duper new.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing, That's what we look for.
Yeah, anything that's supposed to look Star Wars but actually looks Star Trek.
Exactly.
Stefan doesn't get the reference, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, quite right.
It's 'cause you haven't watched all the holodiscs that I used to watch on all my journeys. You're always too busy in your former life.
Too much time in one place, I think is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. So, what are you doing?
It's got to at least be worth looking at the lock of the other side door, right? The problem is the camera's going to spot us lurking. Oh, but
I should have asked more questions about the motion sensors, I suppose. Excuse me.
First things first. Yes. So Rai will turn around to Cara and say, "Could you just run up? Me and Stefan." Before she says anything out loud, actually, she'd just be like, "Cara, you know your and she sort of mimes bloop bloop scan thing. Could you for us, please?"
Okay.
You know your undefined action thing. Could
Yeah,
you
that thing.
undefined action thing it, please?
Cara pulls out a laser pistol, and Sarah's like, "No." She pulls out a paintbrush that she carries out. No. She's got
Sandwich.
sandwich, a smorgasbord. She
A
pulls out. She pulls out a graffiti can with quite excited look in her eyes. To be honest, points towards the wall. No. Okay, yeah. The EMP scan. Okay, my electro scan thing. Yeah. Okay, my EM probe. And she starts the blipping of the EM probe, please, Ben.
Okay. That's check for me, please. Electronics communications
Yep.
with intellect.
Okay, it's one of my good ones. +4. For all my high skills, I did spend a whole day missing the fact that Fess had planted a bug on myself.
Well, you didn't actually look for one, effectively.
No. I felt such a fool. That's a 6, +4 is 10.
Okay. As far as you can tell, there is nothing transmitting or broadcasting from inside the space you're in. You get the usually expected little blips from electronic equipment in the space,
Yeah.
but nothing unusual.
Yeah, got you. Okay, Cara blips around, then she says out loud, "Everything seems groovy in here." And then so Sarai then goes over and she says, "Look, Stefan and I are going to have a nose around, just a poke around outside, just see what the vibe is. They said we've got about half hour, maybe an hour. So if anyone fancies a walk, I guess now's the time." So looking at Rack and Jax and Sammy and do we have one more NPC with us, or is it just Sammy that we bought?
You got Zoe.
Zoe's right, yeah, and it's Zoe as well. So we're just going to pop around if anyone wants to stretch their legs before bedtime and stuff.
Sammy seems quite enthusiastic. She'd like to go and have a look at the rock face at least. And Zoe immediately says, "Well, I'll come with you, Sammy." Rack has, I think, decided to resplend indoors for now. He's decided that he's got alcohol with him. He's got a chair in which to sit, and he's entirely comfortable with just spreading out and relaxing. And Jax will stay with him.
The problem with a vac suit is it covers all the fur and the resplending, doesn't it? Really, it's nice to get out of that.
You can only see him really resplend from the neck up.
That's true. We're not that kind of show to go anymore, so it's more than enough resplending needed.
Whilst this has been going on, Stefan's been meticulously checking the inside of his vac suit and just making sure there's no sand crates, somehow snuck in when they left and found their way into his vac suit.
As far as you can tell, there is no sign of a sand crate.
Slowly putting it on and getting ready.
Though, to be fair, you don't actually know in detail what one looks like, so...
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, and he'll just get ready to go out.
Okay. So, Stefan's going out. Cara's going out. Or Soraya.
Soraya's going out. Cara's umming and ahhing though because she saw the electronic lock. So she'll turn to Agnar and she'll say, "Look, I'll go out for 5 minutes if you fancy it. It's up to you, man. I'm just gonna go with these guys for a few. I'll probably be back in 5 minutes anyway."
Yeah. You you go. I've just got my. I've just sorted out all my fur and brushed it in the right direction. I'm not putting my suit back on now.
Garrow's pulled out a sort of little camp bed for himself and set it up in one corner. He looks completely comfortable in the space. He's obviously been here many times before, and deliberately leaves various sort of lockers open where things are stored so that people can help themselves when they want to. And he sort of rests his slightly aching bones still, you understand, out on the bed and just puts his hands behind his head and lies back, and every now and then takes a sip of a drink. And yeah, Zoe and Sammy head out the front, and reading between the lines, just loiter outside the front for a bit in case there's something you need them to do.
Cool. As we sort of get out, I guess Sarah will look at the time, and she'll sort of nod at Zoe and say, just make sure she's back with enough minutes before the sun goes down. I guess don't let her get too carried away.
Sure.
Have a nice time.
Okay. The two of them wander off down, looking at the canyon walls, but it isn't very long before you see that where they've actually gone is down the side of the building, and they're looking at the canyon walls behind them, because these ones aren't tight against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a gap running between the rather rough canyon wall and the back of these three buildings in a row, and they're wandering along there looking at the rocks and chatting quite animatedly about them. Zoe has made sure she's armed, and she's keeping an eye out in case Sammy does get separated or anything like that.
Can't let Sammy go, can we?
Although, to be fair, Sammy can hold her own, and has.
And she's looked after Stefan after all.
Yeah.
Very true. But I think to be fair, them as a team will be fine.
Indeed.
But they do have some skills, yes.
For sure. What a combo. Soraya says to Kara, nodding at the camera, she says, and I guess this will be something that you and I have to decide, Ben. Do you have any idea of what the view on that camera is like? Is there a way to? Do you think it's got eyes on the other door? Do you think there's ways to avoid it? Kara looks up at the camera and.
Can you roll an? Trying to think what's the best one to go for. I think you can probably do an electronics communications check for that. Yeah, or maybe visual arts. That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, good call, Kelly. Good call. Very good call.
That is exactly what I'm wondering.
That is a very good call.
She's +2 in both of those. I'll take either one, as you can see on the top of the screen right now.
If it's visual arts, she can have education with it.
Oh, then I'll take that then. That's a +4. Thank you. Good work, Kelly. We know we keep you around for a reason. Well, there's many reasons we keep you around, but that's definitely one of them. Your knowledge of, because Kelly's old school traveller, isn't she as well? She's OG like you. Knows it. Knows the skills. Right, here we go. Knows things. Back when numbers became letters when you got to a high enough level.
That's right. That's what they did.
As they still should. When I turn 50, I want to be 49A or something. I don't know.
This is a maths teacher who thinks that 50 in hex is 49A.
Oh, I'm creating my own numbers. We don't teach hex nowadays. I'm not a witch.
I mean, you don't teach hex nowadays.
There we go. Okay. It's a 6 plus a 4 is a 10.
Okay. Though these kinds of cameras are reasonably configurable to owner requirements. You can put different lenses on them as needed. It looks as if it's pretty much an off-the-shelf model. Its field of view is typically around 45 degrees on each side of the center, so 90-degree total view angle. It will be easily enough to encompass the full width of the canyon in front of the main building, but it would leave a fairly significant dead space in front of the two buildings each side, and would have obviously no view of anything behind those buildings or down the sides of them between them. It would, however, almost certainly pick up all of the bits of the canyon wall that include the mine entrances and the prefab units outside them, plus, of course, the distant fence and gate.
Okay, so Cara will sort of look at the camera, I guess, and get an idea of it. And she'll say, if it's pretty standard, unless they've done something to it, it'll see everything out there. It'll see the mine entrances to the side. It'll probably get a pretty good run in the front. If you want to get round to that side, the best bet might actually be to go back around the back of the building and come back all the way around the back, which is what Zoe and they've done, hasn't it? They've gone around the back of the buildings because you said they're not directly against the cliff. Is that what you said, Ben?
That's right. There is space. I mean, they are reasonably far back towards the canyon wall. It's not a huge space, but it's easily walkable.
So I reckon if you do that, and then you come up the other side, if we do that, I don't think the camera will spot us at that door. It might see us walking across in front, but if we go the long way, I think we should be okay. Which will relate to the other two.
Okay. So you can essentially walk, if you like, the wrong way, turn your back on the building you're interested in, walk across the front of the one you've just left, then down the side of it, and then around the back of all three, and then emerge. And there is a fighting chance that, yes, that will keep you outside camera view.
Let's aim for that then, I guess. Happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's do it.
Okay. So who's going on this ramble? This is Soraya and Stefan, yes?
Yeah, Stefan will, definitely.
Cara might, for her I think her thinking would be, because she saw the electronic locks, she'll go with that, but if they want to go further afield, she's not interested, if that makes sense. So she'll stick with them for now.
Okay. Well, you make your way around the sides of the building and round to the back, where indeed you do blunder into Sammy, who is poking at bits of the cliff face with her backsuit's finger, and making excited sort of noises about the nature of the rocks. And Zoe standing just a little bit back, leaning against the back wall of one of the buildings, paying attention, but really looking around as she listens. And she nods to the two of you as you sort of walk past and disappear off to the other end of the three buildings in a row. Can you roll a recon check for me, both of you, please, with intellect?
Yes. Can as we go around the back, can Stefan be specifically on the lookout for any cameras around the back?
Good call.
Yes.
I was going to mention that before, but while we're there. Although that's an 8 exactly, with nothing added and nothing removed.
Okay.
Soraya hit 10 and Cara hit 5.
Okay. Stefan, you don't spot any camera mountings of any kind on the rear or sides of the buildings.
Cool.
and you don't seem to notice anything remotely suspicious around the back. As you reach the far end of this little narrow space behind the buildings, effectively, if you turn left, you'll wrap around the far wall of the leftmost building. And to your right, you can now see the ongoing canyon becoming much narrower and stretching off into the distance, where the first wider part is very straight and almost square-sided. This becomes very quickly much more meandering and jagged, with sharp-looking rock edges, and because of the twists and turns of it, you can only see 10 or 15 meters into it before you can't see any further down. But there's nothing particularly noticeable about it beyond that kind of shape. Then you can turn left, or you can wander down into the narrow part of the canyon if you prefer.
Oh, that's true. It's not been explored yet. Kelly makes a very good call in our regular fourth wall break-in. As we reach that corner, can I make a recon or whatever check? It's recon when it comes to countryside, isn't it? Or survival?
It's survival or recon, depending on what you're doing.
Keeping an eye out for any sand crates. I know it's getting dark, but just any sort of lurking sand crates as we get to that corner and things open out.
That will be a survival check, please.
Okay, please. Thank you.
With intellect.
Okay, thank you. That's better. 8 plus 2 is a 10.
Okay. There doesn't appear to be anything alarming.
Alarming, just like pretty chill. Okay, there's nothing alarming, guys. It's okay. Should we stick with the building first? Then Cara can go back inside if she wants.
Let's stick to the plan.
Yeah.
Which is very much not our usual plan. For a change, Stefan will say, let's stick with what we're doing for now and see how it goes.
Okay. So you turn left and walk up the side of the building?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
You're now obviously facing the main entrance to the canyon, and there doesn't seem to be anything moving or going on out there. And when you reach the front corner of the building, you can now look to the left and see effectively the fronts of all three of those buildings in a row stretching away from you. But you're by the one on the left when you came in.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
The one that has the modern-looking locking devices upon it.
Yep.
Cool. As they get there, Cara will go, Moanth! Is what I'll say if I see a Moanth.
Stefan will, like, obviously on the outside of his helmet, but pretend, like, rubbing his ears. Shh. I thought you said we were sneaking.
From the files of Space Squad, yes.
Exactly. Okay, can we get a closer look at this door then, please, then you, Ben?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. The door is a standard airlock door. It appears to be significantly newer than the other ones in front of the buildings. It's the same size, and because it's a purchasable component just as an airlock door, there's no way of knowing how big the actual airlock is inside it. But the space, it looks like a pretty normal, off-the-shelf, but very new airlock door. It has a sort of a keypad or a touch sensor open button, but unlike the one on the building you first approached and the one you've been into since, it doesn't appear to be lit.
Ooh.
Does this look familiar to Stefan? Would he be familiar with any sort of device like this? Or a non-lit, more modern airlock?
I mean, I'm tempted to say yes, he would be. Can you roll a straight intellect check for me, please?
Oh, yeah, you can. That's a 5, though, with no pluses.
Oh, no.
Okay. You have seen the design of door before. It's not at all an uncommon one. This is a higher security airlock door than the other ones in the structure. This one has probably been replaced relatively recently, and presumably what it has replaced is one that was like the other two. This is a higher security one. It's more sturdy. It's more solid. It's a tougher thing to breach by other means. And the reason for the light being off is either because it's got no power or because they've deliberately turned it off and they have a system to keep it off until someone is authorized to open it.
Okay. He'll obviously, knowing all of that, he'll turn to the other two and just say, "It looks like it's been replaced quite recently. We should tell Rack that he should ask if they've still got their old one. Isn't he in need of some airlock doors now?"
Oh, that is a good call. That's a nice in.
Yeah.
You'd like to think they're just upgrading for an innocent reason, and they've still got the old one there.
You never know.
It's worth a call.
It's worth asking. Help Rack out, if nothing else.
Definitely. Kara wants to try something that works in the 1930s in a gentleman's parlour that might not work out here. She wants to reach down to the dusty floor, and she can't blow because we're wearing stupid masks. I want to blow it across the finger. I want to blow it across the fingerprints of the thing. But can you remove your mask for but a second, or are you struggling at that point?
The atmosphere here is thin, which you would be able to cope without your mask for a second or two, but it's also tainted. It would be very foul and toxic.
Oh no, let's not do that. I want to sprinkle it somehow. I want to just it might fail badly, but as sort of a half thought, she'd take some dust from the ground and sort of at an angle flicks it across the keys to see if any creates any patterns of what might have been pressed more than others. It might not work at all. I don't know, but
okay. Can you roll a? I'm going to go with a dexterity check, please.
Oh no. Okay. No, wrong flat. Let's see what we get. They're warm though, so you never know. Oh, it's a 7.
A 7.
Yeah.
Okay. The nature of the dust, it's from an area, remember, that is rich in quite heavy ores. Makes it really too heavy to be useful for this kind of thing most of the time. But there's probably enough aluminium in there to keep it just about light enough that you get some sense of smudges over the panel. It's not great, but can you give me an intellect check with, I'm going to go with
visual media.
Visual media.
It's visual. Philosophy. What numbers would they choose if I owned a place? What numbers would I choose?
Yes, you can have a philosophy.
Yes.
Yep. You can have intellect with philosophy, please.
If I were to set a code upon this bleak land,
The cornerstone of any breaking and entering.
what would I choose? What would make sense upon all this dust and the smears? What would sit right with me? 8 plus 3 is an 11.
Okay.
Blimey.
It becomes apparent to you during this process that the door controls, however they are used, are exposed to fairly regular windy dust blown against them anyway, and there's never going to be any kind of sticky residue that would make them stick to anything, since people are going to be wearing vac suits and things.
That's true. It was nice to think that it might be a chance.
So, unfortunately, you can't quite see anything distinctive that gives you a clue.
Well, it was worth a try.
Was.
Car returns to the two of them. I guess I was just like dusting them in like stardust. He says, I don't know, like I can have a poke around technologically, but it's like dropping a nuke in a pond right now, because I'm sure they'll know if someone's poking around in it. Do you want me to do that?
Stefan will be. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I get the feeling we might just be finding tools, as they say.
The nicer tools for their favoured friends.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, what are we actually looking to find? What
Slaves.
Best case, worst case scenario?
Slaves is the worst case scenario.
I suppose. Although, wasn't that this is the hub, right? This is the communal area. This isn't anything intrinsically. What was the conglomerate called?
The WEF Free Company.
The WEF.
Yeah, the WEF. This isn't anything intrinsically WEF, is it?
No,
yes, this is essentially where both the WEF Free Company and Swisher are based.
Okay, so it's possible.
So is WEF just the slang name or the company name for the people that are just the group of people that live here, like these two people that we've run into, Ben? Don't give away if we don't know what we're talking about, but
The WEF company is based on what Garrow says is just a collective of the miners who work in and around Swisher.
So it's the ones that we go to and through.
So this place is essentially the operational centre of Swisher.
The biggest mine in Swisher, basically, isn't it? Biggest hub. It might be worth having a quick look down the bit that we've not been to yet, where it gets narrow. If I was going to hide anyone, I'd hide them down the ratty end of town.
Hide them in the canyon.
Yeah, there's some hole with a lock on. That's what you're looking for. If we're going down the mines anyway, we're going to end up going through one of those two doors tomorrow anyway. So we'll see what we need to see there. You're not going to try and break into their house. They're in there. So the only other place to look around, if you want, you've still got that bit of time left, is to shoot down there. If you're interested. Or I could try and bang this thing open. Give it a poke around. I might not be able to, but
let's check out the other way then. I guess unless you're desperate to get in.
Kara smiles.
That's
right. Start to say something, but Kara immediately smiles and said, "I'm glad you say that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye." And she turns and she goes to walk off back round to grab another drink and have a snooze, leaving just the two of them.
Fair enough. Okay.
Sorry. I didn't realise that would be taken up quite so quickly.
So that's okay. It probably was more. It probably potentially cause more harm than good. These guys seem okay from what we can tell. We don't want to be making enemies for no reason.
Yeah, sure. I am interested though.
Oh, me too, man. My interest is piqued, I tell you, with a capital Q. Shall we head down there then?
Let's give it a look. See what's going on.
So you head your way down into the narrowing part of the canyon. It is considerably narrower, sufficiently so that it would be damn near impossible to get a vehicle of any substantial size down here at all. And even in the relatively short distance you're beginning to walk down, it's getting narrower still. It makes a fairly sharp turn to the right on its way through, on its way forward as you move further down. And then shortly afterwards, another turn to the right before becoming really very narrow indeed. And just after the second turn to the right, which brings it roughly running parallel to the back wall of the buildings.
Yeah.
So they're not, they're more jagged than this and more random than this, but it's sort of a 45-degree right turn each time, that kind of thing. It stops, it sort of splinters into lots of very small little canyon offshoots. And there is another building, much smaller than the one you're occupying for the evening.
Now this seems very out of the way, Stefan will say. Should we check this out?
It doesn't have a crescent moon carved on the door, does it, Ben? It's not someone's outhouse.
No, it doesn't appear to have a crescent moon carved on it, no.
Okay. Yeah, let's have a look.
There's not two doors, one with little backsuit pictures on, one which has got the classic toilet skirt.
A backsuit with a skirt.
Okay. No, it's just a regular door, as far as you can tell.
Okay. Stefano, is it lit up?
It doesn't appear to be lit at all, but it also doesn't appear to be a sealed door. It looks like just a door.
Oh.
Literally, it's got a handle and everything.
Oh my goodness. It's gone back to Fighting Fantasy again. To open door, go to page 76.
Yeah.
Door?
Door.
No door left unopened.
Stefan will try the door handle.
Okay.
Looking back at Soraya.
She like does that whole sort of on the edge of your seat kind of wincing, like, oh.
It begins to move, but it seems a bit stiff. Can you roll a strength check for me, please?
Oh no! Why with strength?
That's athletic strength with strength.
With strength.
None of us are strong. We're a very weak team.
But at least I have athletic strength 0, which makes it a 10 total.
Yes,
okay.
Stefan, he's beefy boy. Kelly, get that beefy
With no
boy.
trouble at all.
Again.
You overcome the resistance and pull the door open. Inside, what you're looking at appears to be a shed for all practical intents and purposes. There is no attempt to airlock seal it. There is no good atmosphere in here. This is just old stuff. And most of it seems to be very old. It's piled at the back. It's the kind of thing you put to one side in case you ever need it again in an emergency, but you probably aren't going to ever reach for it.
Okay.
You just don't want to throw it away in case it turns out to be valuable later. And it includes broken old bits of machinery, some bundles of old clothing, work clothing and protective clothing. It's very, very basic and murky in here. Are you both going inside?
You said that with a lot of glee in your face.
A leading question, man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you both roll a streetwise check for me then, please?
Oh no.
With intellect.
Of course, the thing that I actually have +2 for, I roll a 4 on, so that's a 6.
No. Streetwise with what? Sorry.
With intellect.
Okay. Oh, okay. +2. And I fit big. Yes. 11 + 2 is 13.
Okay. You glance around and you're seeing nothing of any particular interest. It's almost as if you're irritated with yourselves for having got your hope up when you sort of saw an unusual looking building out of the way. But it turns out it's just where they put some junk, really. And you're about to turn and leave, and then, Soraya, you spot almost out of the corner of your eye something resting against one wall of the shed. And it is, as I'm sure you can guess at this point, the outer door for an airlock, looking very similar in both age and design to the one that covers the front of the house building and the hall building, and of comparable age and comparable worn out nature. However, it has been removed and put in here.
Yes.
And it appears to have on its surface some significant damage. Not enough to make it useless as a door, but as if someone or something tried to scratch at it or beat on it. It's not in very good nick, though it does appear the damage is superficial, not problematic for it.
Does
Come on, Soraya, it's just a useless building. I don't
Wait.
even know why we bother looking around.
Stefan, you don't have any biology or xenology or anything, do you?
Stefan laughs.
Come on, you're always the brains of our pairing. You had all the skills.
No, why?
Oh man, I
It's a
just wanted.
shed.
But yeah, but look at this door, man. It's something's battered it. I just wonder if it's like a person or it's a mighty Moamph. Look, this is definitely the door that used to be the other one. Look at it. It's the right size, the right shape. It's been replaced. Look, something's been trying to get in. I take it it's the outside that's been battered, Ben, or the inside?
Good question.
It appears the only side you can see is the outside. If you want to see the inside, you'd have to pull it back from the wall a bit.
Kelly, our xenobiologist is living it up, drinking booze with his fancy boy.
He is indeed.
Yeah. This, Kelly, is what happens when you do, in fact, have a xenobiologist, but he's not with you.
When you split the party.
Stefan, I say, do you want to check out the other side? Do you want me to put it forward and you can stick your head back there and have a look?
Yeah, go on. Use your beefy arms and I'll have a look.
So Stefan,
Got to be useful for something.
lever it forward, away from the wall.
Okay. Are you both going to do that together?
If it means that if we can pull it away and then Stefan can hold the weight while I look around, then yeah, let's do it together.
Yep. Okay. Then can I have strength checks from both of you with athletic strength?
That's 4 from me.
So
I think I pulled something with on the way in.
Sarai's with all her desperate strength is trying to like make up for your weakness.
Yeah.
But only gets a 6 - 1 5. So she's trying to take the strain, but that causes pain for her as well because you're not putting your weight.
I mean, neither of you are injured with those very mediocre rolls, but but you don't manage to shift it up enough to easily get behind it. If you want to see what's on the other side, you'll have to crouch down and peer around the angle.
I'll crouch down and peer around the. Oh! I don't want to be attacked by any sand crab.
I tell you what, Soraya, why seeing as we have no idea what we're looking at anyway, judging on the front, why don't you take a photo of the front and maybe just stick your camera around the back and take a photo of the back and we'll see what it's like and we could show it to Agnar.
I like your style. Yeah, I'll do that. Agnar knows.
Unless you want to, don't let me stop you from sticking your head around the back of a strange door in a shed.
I don't know, man. I'm a bit scared of these sand things, the sand crates. Let's we can try and take a photo at the front, and we'll attempt one at the back. I'm a bit nervous. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. You're taking a photo of the front. I don't think you're going to need to worry too much about that. For the one at the back, I'm going to have you do a visual arts check with intellect, please.
Hang on. Okay, hang on. Visual arts is what? Sorry.
Visual arts with intellect, please.
Okay, so I get a -1 for my visual arts because Sarara at least is just slightly less rubbish at everything. And intellect, so it's a 0. No, I'm not reaching Kelly, I'm not putting my arm through a hole that looks very sinister.
Stefan, I say, have you got any like photography, visual arts skills, Soraya?
She'll shoot him a look. And she'll say, "Remember that time when I was at university and we were hanging out quite a lot? Well, I was at she was at military college, wasn't she? We were hanging out quite a lot in those bars, and you were planning to capture that big old ship, which of course we planned and you managed. And I had a wall full of photos from when bands used to come in and like groups would come in and hang out there. It's such a cool kind of hangout place.
Do you know I saw Joy Division, the Joy Police there before they made it big.
Before they were big? Oh man!
The student bar, yeah.
Yeah, when they were still young, when they were literal almost kids at that point, weren't they? Good time, man. It's good to see bands before they get big, right? I think there were only like 15 people there, weren't there?
There weren't many. Rumor has it though, everyone that saw them started their own band, apart from me, obviously. They were that influential on the music scene.
Yeah, but they were. Right, they still are. I'm glad they've made it big now, though. They've got a big tour happening, apparently.
Yeah.
Sold out. Good stuff. Well, I'd say like if you saw the photos, you came around my my dorm room a few times. I'd say about 75% of my photos weren't blurry. I'm not terrible.
Yeah.
These
good number.
Before we could do everything on our phones, and we used to have to send them off to the printers sometimes. Some would come back with them stickers over them, right? But not too many. I was pretty good. Pretty good.
It might be before my time. Agnar probably remembers it.
Yeah, Agnar probably does. He's all fingers and thumbs, that boy. I bet all his photos came back with stickers on. Right, let's anyway.
If not fur coming over the front of the image. Yeah.
As they chat about it, she actually rolls a 10. +1 - 1 is a 10.
Nice.
Okay. All right. You capture. It's very dark back there. There's not much in the way of light in here. You can either try to use the sort of. These are very modern camera systems. They have a reasonable chance of getting you a reasonable image. But but you could actually shine a light back there if you want to give it a bit more chance of picking up a good image.
He's trying to get us to awaken something, I feel. Some kind of kraken back there. I rolled a 10. I think a 10's a pretty good roll as it stands.
Okay, so you're happy to...
I don't know. I've got my camera in the good position that she thinks is good. What are you feeling, Stefan? You got to light it for me, Stefan. I think I've got a good spot.
I'll light it up.
Yeah, I've got a good spot with my camera. I feel that I've got a really good spot on the camera. It's not like 100%, but I'm feeling it's about 85% shot here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still holding on to it, leaning it forward, obviously, from when we didn't lean it forward at all.
Yeah.
Thinking that I'm doing something. Yeah, if you want a light, that's fine.
Yeah, if with one hand you could just bang a light down there, I feel I've got a pretty good shot. You know,
Sure.
if you can get that light there, it might help a little bit more, yeah?
Yeah, shine it
sure.
Down the back.
All right, okay. Okay. You take your shot, and nothing seems to happen unusually other than you take a shot. You want to examine the picture here, see what you've got?
Sure, why not?
Okay. As you sort of assemble in the middle of the shed to take a look, what you can see is, if you look at the back of the door, which is obviously at quite an acute angle, there does appear to be some damage to the other side of the door as well. Probably nowhere near as much as there is to the outside, but there does appear to be a little bit on the inside. It's hard to be completely certain because the angle and the light isn't exactly perfect. You haven't got quite as much of a view, but it does appear to be about maybe a quarter as much, if that, of the damage. It's less, you would argue. And the other thing that you spot in your shot is what you can only assume is a sand crate curled up behind the door, and with its head raised, looking at the light, ignoring the camera. You understand? So you've got the back of the head from the perspective of the shot.
Sand crate is what I'd say if there was a sand crate. And there's a sand crate.
Yeah, of course, sure.
What's
on the photo? You've tried that before with the Moamps.
There's legitimately a sand crate there, man.
Yeah.
That's it's like about 12 foot long, really angry eyes. Man, it's literally there. It's gonna ping at you, man. It'll have your neck. Do something. You're the fancy man.
Okay. There's a sand crate. Come on then. Let's leave and show Agnar the photos before we get attacked by the giant 12-foot sand crate.
It'll have it. Literally, Stefan. It'll have you, man. I'm not leaving this room until you've sorted it. It'll literally have you. Do something.
Is it behind the rabbit?
Mate, if we go at it, it'll jump on you and it'll like get a free ride in. Honestly,
listen, it's only
deal with it.
We were told they'll only attack if they get surprised. So
we just shone a light in its face holes,
and it didn't attack. I'm sure it'll be fine if we walk away. Look, you're just trying to wind me up or get me to run out screaming and fall over or something.
She'll show him without moving the rest of her body. She'll show him the picture, and like with her finger sort of points at the bit on the picture where the sand crate is.
Okay, let's go. Come on. We'll walk out backwards.
Okay, you back out. Can you roll a survival check for me, please, both of you?
To see if we survive.
With intellect.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Could this be potentially stealth, Ben, or are we looking for something? Oh, don't worry about it. Doesn't matter.
I always roll well, I do.
You rolled a 2.
Oh, no.
My survival is -3, and my intellect is 0. So I mean, my maths isn't great, but I make that a -1.
It's a -1. Yep.
I've hit a 6 plus. I've hit a 6 plus 2 at least. That's an 8.
Okay.
I'm leaving you behind, quite frankly, with that sort of roll. I'm off.
I don't blame you.
Stefan, humouring Soraya on the way out, carefully walks backwards, banging his head on the door 3 times on the way out because he's not watching where he's going, making it out into the canyon. And Soraya is spending most of that time hissing and whispering and pointing about, I can see it, it's right there. And of course, Stefan can't. He's completely incapable of seeing the damn thing. But you get outside and Soraya very carefully closes the door and shuts it. And breathes a slight sigh of relief.
Oh, I'll tell you what, mate. I've known you 16, 17, 18 years. I'm going to hang out with Agnar more, I think.
Listen, if anyone asks, we fought off 6 of them, and they were giant. Okay.
That's a deal. She holds out her fist for a fist bump. Oh, we found something at least. We found something interesting.
Okay, so are you heading back to the main building? The hall?
I see no reason not to. I guess Ewan, in that if we're going down the mines tomorrow, we're going down one of those anyway.
Yeah.
And if it's a store, it's a store.
Head back the way we came.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll head back.
Maybe. Oh, we've got photos. Maybe show the photos to everyone.
Yeah, let's go back to our dorm. Good call. And show the photos to everyone.
Excellent stuff. Okay, then in that case, you make it back to the main hall without incident. As far as you can tell, no sand crates nor moanths seem to interrupt your presence. And you walk the long way round again to avoid the camera, just in case someone's watching or paying attention. Make your way inside to find that Garrow is already asleep. Amelia is already drunk. Rack is already explaining to the drunk Amelia some legendary moment from his past, which, based on the look on her face, she was probably there at the time and therefore can remember it in every possible detail. But he's on a roll, and he's regaling her with the tale.
What a guy! He's regaling. What a guy!
Everyone else is curled up in various states of relaxation and readiness. You open the door, come in, close the airlock behind you, and at that point, I think we should call it for tonight.
Oh.
Can I just add that Agnar's enthralled with the tale that Rack is telling?
Of course he is.
Yes.
Listening very attentively to every detail.
There was no danger of getting your xenobiologist to leave the hall if Rack was telling a story.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
I was going to make Stefan do a 360 just to make sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the first thing that we should definitely do when we get back is do the old once over, make sure we're all right.
Exactly. Oh. Suspicious now.
Thank you very much, Ben. That was
Thank
great
you guys.
fun. Nice to
that was enormous
have a couple
fun.
of throwbacks as well.
Went a bit old school. In the chat.
Yeah.
So for the sake of Kelly, I guess, and anyone else, through the backstory of Traveller, if people, we do have a video on Traveller character generation, which is a lovely thing, a truly lovely experience to go through. But Stefan and Sarai have a link, and Kara and Agnar have a link. And they all get on now, of course, but Stefan and Sarai, if I remember correctly, they're both the same age, so it made the turns easy enough. Sarai was at military college because her father was in the military and he got killed. He was a gunnery sergeant, so she felt she needed to for a family name, but she wasn't right for it, and she ended up failing and dropping out. What was Stefan doing at the time?
He was the same. He dropped out, so he was milling around on the planet, I think.
Miller.
Exactly. He was hanging around, and I think he was in with some roguish types on the planet. Having dropped out, that was his next career choice.
And the way we said that the way they linked was that at the time, which is partly of what led to Sarai's dropout and getting disillusioned about the military thing, was that she was spending more and more time in sort of the bars, hanging out with Stefan.
Yeah,
they're sort of drawn to each other as sort of similar souls more than anything else, I think. And that Stefan had been planning some very roguish activity, which Sarai sort of was helping out with, I guess, a bit with the planning and the discussion while she was doing her thing.
Yeah.
And what did Stefan do, Ewan?
He ended up stealing a ship. He'd planned to. I think he planned to steal some supplies from the Naval College, in part for retribution of him being kicked out or dropping out or not making the grade, and somehow rolled miraculously well during his character creation, and made off with the ship.
Exactly that.
Yes, that was merely his first theft of a ship.
Yes, it was indeed. Yeah, in theory.
Other thefts of ship are available.
Exactly. But at least I think one of your things about Stefan was it you said one of his fears is that he sort of peaked early, right?
And that will be his greatest ever accomplishment.
At the age of
nothing,
like 20.
Yeah, nothing he ever does will live up to that moment. Which he actually, to be fair, he hasn't had to dine off since becoming part of this crew, but quite often, he would dine off the tail of that theft, or bring it up in the right circles to gain some kudos.
But when people start rolling their eyes because they've heard it 3 or 4 times, it loses its gloss a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Plus, we're doing all right for ourselves now. He doesn't need to throw around the one thing that's haunting him that he's done so well and never done anything that will live up to it since. He's quite happy plodding around with the rest of the crew.
Oh, he's doing more than plodding. He's more than carrying his weight, Stefan. Wow. What a guy. Exactly, Kelly. If he takes down a Sancrate or 2, that's its own legend, quite frankly.
Yeah, and he dealt with some oxivorous spiders, and he's had a couple of big moments. In fact, in a quite recent episode, he had a really big moment.
Oh, what was your big moment? I'm trying to think about the big moment. Oh,
I remember now. I think you billed it as his greatest moment or something.
Oh, God. I'm trying to think what he's done. He smuggled in the poison to kill the guy on Osin. That was a great moment.
That was good.
There was the noticing of the would-be poison on the ship.
That was a
right.
mighty moment.
That was a huge one.
That was very strong Stefan moment.
Yeah.
Oh, what have you done since?
Which is quite good.
What did you do with the? You didn't kill a gardener.
Not recently.
No, certainly not recently. There was a backflip. There was a backflip at Earthworld.
Oh, that was a highlight.
Which was pretty good. Yeah, that no one saw.
No one saw. No one believes you about that. You do realise.
Yes. Well, we've got it on VOD.
So. I think only Kara saw it, if I remember correctly. So
I don't think anybody did.
Oh no, yes, everyone walked away because he failed the one at the
Yeah,
at the
he
stage.
failed one and then waited for everyone to walk off and tried it again.
And then he landed
I think rolled
when
rather
no
well.
one was watching.
Yeah. But he
That's
knew.
what they say, isn't it? Jump about like no one's watching.
Yeah.
It was a perfect 12 as well. I think it was like you landed the perfect.
It was a good
It,
roll.
it was pretty much flawless. Yes.
Oh, what was it? What have you got down as? Do you remember it, Ben, or were you just like launching for us to remember?
Well,
or do you remember
the
what it
other
was?
thing I can remember really recently that was a Stefan moment was that insane sniper shot.
Oh yes,
Yes, that's true.
with the plus silly numbers.
Yeah.
Good call.
Which
That was good.
you know, with all of the weapon bonuses, it ended up like a 36 or something, didn't it?
Oh, it was ridiculous. That was a great
It
job.
was pretty good.
The thing is, if Stefan ever gets too big for his boots, all I need to do is get Kara to show him a picture of the carvings, and he'll be reduced to a babbling mess.
So, yeah, that was not so good. The ancient carvings that drove him somewhat.
So we have got ancient carvings, Kelly, and anyone else that we sort of saw on the planet with the gloop. And they're very ancient, very old and big carvings, and different people reacted in different ways. If they look to them, and they even get it if they look at the photos, don't they? Because Kara took a picture and uses it, almost weaponizes it, and just pushes it in people's faces. What does this make you feel? Have a look at the picture of my dog. It's not the dog, really.
Yeah.
So Stefan's affected. I've got a feeling Agnar doesn't like it either. I think Agnar gets the willies, if nothing else.
He was less so, I think, wasn't he? Was that the right way around?
Yeah.
One of them was definitely more affected than the other.
Stefan was seeing like in 3D floating in front of his eyes, wasn't he, at one point, I think? Like literally. Yeah. The girls aren't affected. Or no, yeah. Kara definitely isn't. I think Soraya isn't.
Sammy was quite impacted by it, if I remember.
I don't think Zoe likes him either, you know?
No, Zoe had a strong reaction too.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
so they're interesting carvings. We've still got lots of photos of them to show off as needed. It's a judge of character. The more you react, the worse person you are to drink with. I think that's how that works.
Yeah, that's what that means.
I think that's how it's written in. Let me read the Traveller adventure that it's based on to find out. I think that's what.
So
I think
no
that's
doubt,
what they
Telon Rack would be completely blasé about it.
Oh, he'll run towards them. What beautiful carvings! Wow. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, it's late and it's Saturday night, I guess.
It is indeed. What's tomorrow? What's later today, Luke?
We're into Sunday, aren't we?
We are indeed now.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because normally we do this on a Friday, but because of shifting things around a bit, yes, tomorrow is presumably Spooky Sunday, is it?
Wow, as the American football season is over, the only thing about Sundays now is Spooky Sunday.
There you go. That's the only thing that happens on a Sunday.
Apart from all the other things I do on a Sunday.
No, nothing else happens on it. Well, nothing important.
And you have to wait till 11:45 in the evening to get to it as well. That's the thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Only 15 minutes of spookiness on a Sunday.
Sunday is basically a vast empty desert of nothingness until 11:45.
The last 15 minutes, and then I'm often 5 or 10 minutes late most of the time. So
yes, it's quite often 3 minutes to midnight.
Well, you've got to build the suspense for a spooky stream.
Suspenseful Sunday. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's Hellblade, isn't it?
It's Hellblade. Is it the 5th episode of Hellblade? I feel 4th.
At the back of my mind, I'm thinking it might actually be the 4th.
4th. It's quite. Oh man, the last one was quite emotional.
It was.
We had flashbacks and everything. I feel so sorry for that girl who stayed in the house the whole time because of her mental health, and she finally voyages out and meets a guy who takes her for what she is, and they fall in love. And then he's killed. Oh, it's heartbreaking. And it redoubled my efforts to just. There were times playing that where it's clever writing because it makes you stride out and run at the enemies to kill them because your effort is redoubled, and it's very clever for that. It's a great game, and it's good, and that'll be Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday night, late Excellent. Sunday night. We'll do that.
Yeah.
So yes, 11:45 UK time, 11:45 ish. Luke will be slightly spooked.
Slightly. Yeah, I'm not too spooked. This has been nice. I'm not too spooked about it. It's more enjoyable.
And you're getting actually quite useful with the key press combinations to make her do action hero stuff.
Yeah. She can't climb anything, but she can wave a sword around. Which is pretty good. Yeah. Until that big thing came along, that was quite spooky.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a couple of the demon monsters have been really, I think, a bit unfair.
Yeah, I think so. Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, you sort of end up yelling at the screen, pick on someone your own size.
Exactly. Yeah, but no, it's going well, and I think I think it's a nice extra chapter tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to Hellblade, and I'll look forward to it again.
Yes, I think it's a lot of fun. Great. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It has indeed. It has indeed. Thank you for everyone watching, and thank you to you two as well. It's been great fun.
And
thank you guys.
Cheers. Okay, take care. Thanks, Kelly, for hanging around. Thanks, Spez, if you're still around. Thank you, lurkers. Love you all. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.